Hi everyone, welcome to Artificial TCG. This is a game I have been working on for some time. It is a card game. It will be a virtual card game similar to Hearthstone and a couple of other things. For now, it's just on Tabletop Simulator. Quite easy to access, just mostly for testing purposes. So until the game is at a point where I'm happy to pay for it to be coded by someone else, I am just currently running on Tabletop Simulator, which has worked fine. This is a great program that gives you everything you need, and I do have rules here. They're two-sided and everything, so anyone that wants to play can access the rules, and they've got them right there if they need them at any time, which is very helpful. So, but I do want to just explain the rules of the game itself, and even show you an example of how a game would go. So we're going to start with the hero cards. So currently all images, I will start by saying that all images are temporary. The pictures of people are all generated using this person does not exist. They will be replaced as we get, as the game gets to the point where art is a thing. So once I have art, I will obviously replace every picture. Every single one of them will be replaced, except for like some special cards that personally have a meaning, but they won't be publicly available anyway. They'll be in the game, but only for particular people who have assisted with the game. So you have your hero cards. All the hero cards have this basic image and a name just to help you. The reason I put the name on the cards is so you can look at it, you can see that name, you know what that card does. Like for some cards it's easy because that's a vine, you gotta know what it is. But for this, if you just see a dude, you're not gonna understand who it is. That's why the name is there. So yeah, this is a hero card. You'll notice they have this big H in the top of the corner. Sorry, I'm just gonna make it a little easier to see. So they have the big H at the top of the corner, they have the name, they have their element and card type, or their species. That's not always both. Sometimes it'll be one, sometimes it'll be a combination of the two, or two of the same. So, but that's generally, those categories are generally the same sort of thing. Cards will reference those. And obviously, fire can only use fire abilities. This is a grass one, so the fire guy cannot use it. But we'll get into that when we go through these. He has his job, per se. Looking at renaming the word job for a different term, but for now it is just called job. They have the ability here. This is their HP. So whenever a card takes damage, they get damage counters. So we do have just this for now. That'll be fixed up when the game has its own engine and everything, like when it's its own program, that'll automatically be calculated. That's what this circle's for. That'll put your damage in there. Once your damage equals your health, the card dies. They also have their damage. So this is their basic attack. So every card can just, every fighter or hero can turn sideways to do a basic attack, and they deal that. That is their BA, or basic attack. This is their hope points when a card dies. So when a fighter dies, they're sent to the grave, and you lose life equal to their hope points, which is why we do have these counters. So if Bruno was to die, you will lose the 5. Next up we have fighters. So fighters and heroes are mostly the same. The only difference is this H isn't there. You can only have one of a hero name. So you can have one of Bruno, and there might be other cards that are named Bruno with a different effect, but you can still only have one Bruno in general. So that is a bit of a decision as to which version of a single card you want to use. So this one is a fighter. You can have up to 3 of any given fighter. So fighters are much weaker than their hero counterparts most of the time, but all their other stats are the same. You generally lose a little less hope for them, and you have more of these in your deck just because they're more accessible. However, it is possible to just not use them at all. You can make a deck just using heroes. It's just a little less consistent because your heroes. Some cards affect heroes better, so you do want some non-heroes. Next up are your powers. So at any time, let's use a green hero, or green fighter. So to use a green power or a grass power, you can dull, and it counts as this character using this power for the turn. So he will target a fighter, deal at 20 grass damage, and then his ability will trigger as well, which deals 10 additional damage. So that would deal 30 damage because it counts as this card casting. So that's pretty much all powers are. They're pretty much your main damage dealing cards in the game. As much as BA is decent for attacking things, the way that these cards work is just they deal more damage quicker, but obviously they cost you more resources to do so. Next is equips. Equips all just attached to a user. Generally I like to put them there, but realistically all the layout in this game is entirely up to you. You don't have to follow my word for it, you can just put it like that. And then if you do need to see it, you've got your search function. So equips will generally boost your character's max HP or attack, or give them an ability. In this case, they can attack even if the block card is being used, which the block card will stop attacks. I won't bother grabbing it out. Block card stops attacks. This lets you attack anyway, and gets around that, as well as gives you an extra 10 BA, so it can put Bruno to doing 30 damage a turn, which is significantly better than the small 20. But some will give a little more than just 10 BA, but not too much. So next is actions. So actions, you can play one action per turn, you can play one equip per turn, you can play one location per turn, and you can play one fighter or hero. Heroes are treated as fighters in most situations, unless it says non-hero fighter. The only thing you can play more than one a turn of is this, powers, and that's by having more than one fighter on field, or if an effect says otherwise. Effects will let you play these more than once if they have that effect. So an action card is once per turn. You play the action card, you get its effects, it goes to grave. So it's a very quick, simple thing. There's no cost for it. You can just play the one per turn though. These are just general support cards, and they have such a variety of effects, they can do anything realistically. Lastly, locations. These are kind of, field cards sort of things. They give an arena bonus of some sort to everything on the field. And there's not really anything too special about them. You can only have one on the field. So if your one is on the field, your opponent can't play one. So you might not want to play locations in case your opponent puts one out and you've got a dead card, but you also might want them to stop your opponent playing them. Some cards will obviously destroy location cards, and that'll help you get around the slight issue of not being able to play them, but they generally give the whole field a buff. Sometimes they will only affect the cards you control, but generally they do affect both sides of the field. So yeah, that's the basics of it all. That's just the card types in general, but I'm going to go through a quick game just to show what it looks like. I'm just going to put the deck down here for now, and I think that's upside down, whatever. Okay, so generally you would play bottom and top, but just for this, just because I'm going to be using both decks just to show you how the game generally works, I will not be doing so. So we're going to shuffle them up, and we're going to, first up, both players will pick a hero from their deck. I've already selected the heroes previously, so all decks are 51 cards, and that one, you must have one hero, anything else is up to you. So we're going to go for 7 per person. Now both players do have access to a single mulligan, so you can return your hand to the bottom of your deck and then draw 7 new cards. That's it, that's the entire mulligan rule. That is still under review, so we may or may not continue that. Now from your hand, when you have got your first hand, this is a decent hand, I will keep it. You can also then place any fighters that you have in your hand on the field, or heroes, as long as they're playable. Oops, not that one, that one. Okay. Wow, 3 of the same card, that's unfortunate. I feel like, actually, we're going to make this one a mulligan. 1, 2, 3. Just because we don't want, that was not a very nice hand, so I am going to just reshuffle that. And it's just as simple as that. You just put the 7 cards on the bottom and you just try again. And this time we've only got 1 fighter again, but it's a little bit of a better hand. So here we go, and then you flip the cards up and the game starts. And cool, these cards are upside down. That's great. Alright, so your hero cards will cost you the most when they die, and for these starter decks, your hero cards do not have an ability, as do some of the non-hero cards. We're going to start with fire, so we'll have fire go first. Alright, first thing you do, you draw for turn. Obviously it does have a draw function, but we just aren't going to be able to use that. These decks are mostly the same, the only difference is their coloured cards. So we're going to start with Fire Blast by dulling Alexis. Or not dulling, sorry. It's called Guard Down in this game. Dull is a copyrighted term. So Guard Down Alexis, and she's going to use Fire Blast to deal 20 damage to 2 fighters. So we're going to hit this one. So 20, and we're going to hit the Specialist as well, because he's the biggest threat out of the 2 fighters. So then you just lose that card, and I can use another ability. And I'm going to have the Endurer tap to use this ability. So this ability, this power is an any power, so anything can use this power. So it's going to target 1 fighter, which is going to be Alkesh. It's going to roll a 6-sided die and deal 10 times the result. So 6. So he's going to take 50, 60. So that was a really good roll. And now my guys are both dull, and I can't use Recycle Technique just purely based on the fact that my grave doesn't work for it. And I'm going to save that knife for next turn. So that'll be a pass turn, and it's now the ice turn. Alright. So we have 2 ice shards here, as well as a sword and a knife. Honestly, sword does need a bit of a buff. It doesn't really do as much as it could. Specialist does an extra 10 damage when it casts an ice power, so we are going to... Wow, that didn't stay on the way I wanted it to. That's something I'll look into. Maybe we'll just put it beneath for now. So he deals an extra 10 damage when casting an ice power, so we're going to do an ice shard, which does 40 damage normally, but because it is the Specialist, it will deal 50. And then we're going to have Alkesh do the same for another 40. Sometimes this game isn't as accurate as I want it to be, but that's fine. It's nothing too serious. And then we're going to equip a knife. To the iron. The iron's going to attack for 10 and 10, so 20 on Alexis. Alexis will die. And then we don't need these. and then this player loses 5 life. Whoops, it's upside down. So 5 life because they've lost a hero that has 5 of the hope points. So it's, and then this will stay on field, obviously attached to this character. And we're going to move on to the next one. So you draw a card, you guard up all your fighters, and we have a look here. Ooh, it's not looking very good at all. Going to put down the field card, which is the red dorm. So now all fire users will heal 20 HP during my upkeep. And we're going to equip the Endurer with a knife and have him attack Alkesh. Oh, actually, immediately I think we should get rid of the knife. So his BA will go up by 30, so it's 40. We're going to attack Alkesh, and that's enough to... Oh, we don't need to get rid of that knife. He's only got 20 health. So we will just attack. Alkesh will die, and that's 5 life here, done. We're then going to use the action ability, which is Recycle Technique. So we can't use whatever ability we get back this turn, but we get one from the grave for free. So we're going to grab back Spinner, just because that seemed to work really well for us before. Oh, that's right, you can't add that. Well, that's there. Alright, and then that's the end of the fire's turn. So these two will guard up. And oh, we don't really have a lot here either. Once again, we're going to Recycle Technique. This card is good for getting back abilities, but you can't use abilities of that name for the turn that you've grabbed them. Still is very helpful. I'm going to use... Oh, we've used one action ability this turn, so we can't use that Resurrection Rumor. However, we can throw another knife down on the Aran. So now he's doing plus 20, so he can attack for 30 here, and then the Specialist will attack for another 10. I'm only going to put 2 down because that's the end of the turn, and then to draw for turn, this will heal 20 anyway. Search. Ooh, it's not looking very good at all. Alright, I forgot about that. So he's going to guard down. He's going to attack the Specialist. The Specialist... Oh, no, the Aran's a bigger threat. So we're going to attack the Aran with Spinner. Spinning is a good trick. Come on, another lucky 6. A 5. A 5 isn't bad. So that's half his health gone. That's not too bad at all. And then we're going to call that a turn. Unfortunately for the fire deck, it's just not going as well as the ice deck. The ice deck is seeing its cards that it needs. And then we can activate these. Now first up, we're going to use the Resurrection Rumor. So the Resurrection Rumor is a beautiful card that lets you put a hero back in your deck. So even though you do only get one, you could then shuffle back in a hero that you have lost, which is very helpful. So here we're going to Ice Ball with the Specialist. It doesn't actually deal any damage, so it can't deal 10 additional damage, but it just means that this will now guard down at the start of the fire player's turn. Then we can attack for another 30 here. So I'm going to do one because it will just heal. Oh. Now this one guards up for upkeep, but then whoops, sorry, I'm just going to fix that up. Did something backwards there. Ooh, whoops. That's going to have to be fixed up just because it doesn't during the draw phase what it should. It should be after the upkeep phase. So he gets guard down, and unfortunately that just ends the turn. Without any other fighters, the fire deck is having some issues. Specialist will guard down and deal 50 damage again. And then this arrow will tap for another 30. That's enough to kill the Endurer, which 3. And then we will equip a sword, because why not increase that attack to 40. Now that's another 3 life lost. Now the game looks like it's over here because the fire player has, the fire player has no cards left. They do get 1 turn to try and play a card, a fighter, which if they can't do, they lose. So unfortunately, the fire player does lose just because they can't put a fighter on the field of any kind. And that's a win for the ice player. So you lose if you either can't put a fighter on the field by the end of your turn. It doesn't matter how many things your opponent does without you having a board. As long as your turn doesn't end, you're fine. Alternatively, of course, if your hope hits 0, you will just lose the game. So that's the basics of it all. It's nothing too complicated. It is pretty straightforward. Once you've played it a couple of times, it does all make sense. Unfortunately, these tokens don't just stay on the field the way I wanted them to. But still, they do what they're supposed to do, and they keep track of life. Yeah, that's the basics of it all. Yeah. Obviously, you know, some cards are far more complicated than these. These are all very basic cards, good for learners. Nothing extreme. Obviously, you know, you have other things. They're not just all irons. So you have the Aetherites, which can just transform into each other, which are pretty cool. The Mia, which just work as duos of a golem and essentially a Mia or a pilot, and they keep these things fighting. So these can't fight without these, and these are pretty weak, so these protect them. And then we have Metlocks, which is just robots essentially, and they work around sacrificing themselves to damage other things, so on and so forth. And there's 17 different types, whole through to explosion, plus dark is an additional type, as well as robots and arrows. There is an arrow category somewhere. I think it's here. So arrows can only be played if you have a bow, which is an equipped card that's in here. And there's a whole deck worth of bows and arrows and all that sort of stuff. So it's really, there's just a lot of options. At the moment there's about 500 cards, but I do keep adding more. But if you have any questions, do let me know. If you have any card suggestions, I'm eager to hear them.